Councilmember Harrison is online. Are you there, Councilmember Harrison?
He was talking to us earlier.
Can you hear me?
There you go.
We can hear you now. Thank you. Councilmember Newell, Councilmember Freeman, Councilmember Stallings, Councilmember Lockhart, we welcome you to the dais, and we're excited to get going today. We'll start by having a prayer by Councilmember Lockhart, and then we'll go to that point.
Our dear Father in heaven, we're so grateful to be here today and to come together to represent the residents of Lehi and to do the business for the city of Lehi. Father, we're so grateful for all that you've given us and for all that we have and the opportunities that we have living in this country and in this great state of Utah. We ask for you to bless us with the gift of discernment, that today as we move through these items that impact our residents and the applicants and our community, that we have the gift of discernment to determine what is the right answer and what needs to be done. And we're so, again, grateful for all that we have. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilmember. Okay, presentation reports. We'll go to 2.1. So we'll start with emergency management training and invite all to get comfortable as we are about to be trained. So we'll turn the time over to you, Scott. Okay, Scott will introduce them and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. We are a new council and a new mayor, and we have FEMA training that we like to present to you. Usually it's brought on by the state, but the state is pretty packed with their training schedule, so we were lucky enough to have our county emergency manager, Peter Quittner, to be able to present this for us. So we will turn the time over to him because it's pretty lengthy. So, Peter.
Can I ask a real quick question? We were given these handouts. Are we allowed to write in these throughout your presentation? Okay.
They're yours. They're fancy. I get it.
I just didn't know.
They're fancy. No. Yeah, you can. They're yours to have. There's a couple extra here. If anybody else here wants them. So I'll just apologize. I didn't know this was going to be a council meeting, and I'm like all presenting to during a meeting, and but it's okay. We'll be fine. But just know this is geared more as a classroom training. So, but I encourage you to ask questions, and I just want to make sure what I have here you guys can see. I don't know what.
Yeah, they can see it.
They can see.
Sorry, we're going to switch it.
Okay.
We have a screen in front of us, too.
Yeah, I just want to make sure my presentation makes it on there.
So you said that there's more booklets if anyone in the.
Yeah.
Anyone else want one?
Yeah. I mean, I have this many.
Okay.
So I have this. You want one, sir? Sir, you lucky? It's your lucky day, sir.
Outstanding. Can I have two?
You can have two.
Just kidding.
I'll just put it right here. Okay, they're right there. I don't need to take any back with me. So can you see my?
No, it's not.
No, it's black.
We're still getting black over here.
I'm not a. It's just plugged in HDMI. Okay. You can plug it into any one of these. Go ahead. Magic. Oh. That was too soon. You might need to stand here the whole time.
You have to hold your breath.
Yeah. Oh. I have a jump drive. promise.
Not you, it's not you.
I'm sorry, what? No, it should be like an edited one. There's one that says edited.
Is it the way his display? Do we need to hit F7? Maybe it's just
I don't think it is.
pull it up on a second screen.
Because if you, the computer that's presenting up here, if you can throw it on that and just give me a little.
There you go.
There you
She's got it. There.
Is that from you? Can I plug my little gizmo? Well, I don't need to have it. I need that so I can, yeah, and zap people. Well, you, try this.
Here, let me download the PowerPoint and we can just put it in that one.
You can, well, let's try that, see if that works. I just gotta, let's see. I'll just, in the meantime, just put the laser around the ceiling. I think it works. Okay. Okay. I think we're off to an awesome start here. So, okay, let me just give an introduction here. This, just so you know what you're sitting through. This is an overview for senior officials, executives, elected officials, appointed officials, and it is really geared toward just as emergency. So let me just start out. My name is Peter Quitner. I'm the county's emergency manager. I've been the emergency manager for Utah County for about 15 years. I'm from the sheriff's office. I've been there over 25 years. And doing this over the last 15 years, really have seen quite the change in emergency management in the county. And it's really good to understand how disasters work and where does city fit in, where does the county fit in, where do elected officials fit in, and what are our responsibilities in order to get funding and things like that. And so this is just geared as a brief overview, but really I would love to have a discussion. I would love for you guys to ask questions. I'll be answering them, and just kind of work through it. This is designed to be a lot longer course, and I try to tailor it to each community that I go to. I've been to several cities, and it usually actually ends up pretty good. But I don't need to hit every single slide. There's no test. Normally if you go to a FEMA course, there's a test. This is one of the only courses they don't have a test for. So anyway, that's what this class is. This course, this unit. Well, there's a couple of units, but I just really want to have a discussion point. Okay. But this is from FEMA, and I've modified it a little bit. But this is kind of what we're going to be talking about, and I'll go through them pretty quick. And I've got Tyler here. He works with me in emergency management. He's going to start throwing stuff at me if I take too long.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But this is kind of the objectives. Who's heard of NIMS? You guys heard of NIMS, the National Incident Management System?
Yeah.
Okay. And we're going to be talking a little bit about some management characteristics, the organizational structure of incident command, and the role of the command general staff. And then we're going to talk a little bit about emergency operations centers, and then some interconnectivity between the multi-agency command group, emergency operations centers, joint information systems, and incident command. And then we're going to go through a little bit of a unit on the senior official's role in the preparedness for that. This is generally what we're going to talk about, but each delivery of this is a little bit different because people have their own experiences, they have their own training they've been to, and they usually have certain questions, and they want me to get into more into certain questions based on past experiences or what have you. So it'll be fine. Any questions so far? This is fascinating. I know you guys are all fascinated by this stuff. It's actually a lot of fun. It's a lot more fun to do it in real life. But I've got you the handouts. Those are just handouts. Normally this doesn't really come with a handout, but we made it into one just so you have some reference material for later on. Feel free to drop pictures in it and whatever you need to, take notes. And we'll get to it, but I've got some other things up here. We'll be talking about delegations of authority and stuff like that, and I've got some examples here. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the very last page should be like a sample delegation of authority. Did it get in there? Mm-hmm. Okay, fantastic. So we're going to talk about these different things. We're going to go through it. But NIMS. Does anybody know what NIMS is? Want to take a stab at it? It's okay. National Incident Management System. Let's talk about what does it mean to have an incident. I know you guys had an incident not too long ago, a fairly big one. But what's an incident, you guys? I mean, what do you guys think?
An earthquake?
Earthquake? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're cheating, you can just read it off here.
I would say an incident is an occurrence caused by either a human or natural phenomena that requires response action to prevent, minimize loss of life or damage to property and or the environment.
You studied. You studied. I can tell. I don't know.
You can be worse.
This is going to be weird for me because usually I can just safely hide in a corner or something. Okay. So, yeah, that's an incident. It's really anything. Really anything could be an incident. Okay. That was great. There's a legal basis for NIMS, Homeland Security Presidential Directive 5, and the Directive 8. So management, it talks about, and we're not going to read it all or anything, but this just gives you a legal basis for NIMS nationwide. Everyone's trained the same, but it's how we manage domestic incidents. It talks about national preparedness. There are these books you can find online if you really do want to go more in depth about the National Response Framework and the National Incident Management System. You can download them. They're PDFs, freely available on the web. And you're more than welcome to do as much research as you'd like. So, the National Response Framework talks about certain partnerships. You have the way we always talk about it is incidents. Let me just pose a question. If something happens here in Lehi City, whose responsibility is it for the incident?
For Lehi City?
Yeah.
It's mine.
Okay. So it's the city's responsibility. Okay. And then when you need more stuff, you'll reach out to people who can give you more stuff or provide you extra guidance or whatever it is. And then it keeps going up until it gets to the federal government. Now, I will say there has been some changes recently when it comes to some of our thresholds for disaster. We'll get to that. But generally speaking, incidents, they happen local and they're handled locally, right? Ideally, you have all the resources you could ever want. Be able to take care of whatever the problem is, and everyone goes home safe, and everything's done, and everything's fantastic. They don't always happen like that. Sometimes you need to reach out for assistance, and this is where this partnership really comes into play, and we'll get more into that. But what NIMS does, like it says, it's a consistent template. So if someone's trained here locally and trained out of state, we're all trained the same way. So theoretically, we could take people from one state, put them into another state, and we have exponential help. We have more people that you can throw to the incident, and they're all trained the same, use the same terminology, and are familiar with how things are done. So, and during this, if anyone has questions, please just stop me. This talks about what NIMS is, the different entities that get involved, what they do, and so you're talking about federal level, state level, territorial. We do have tribal in Utah. You have local governments, private sectors, non-governmental organizations, and this is the how to prepare for, prevent, respond to, recover from, and mitigate the effects of incidents regardless of cause, size, location, or complexity. And the why is to reduce the loss of life and property. And when we talk about mitigating emergencies, the national statistic is for every dollar you put into mitigation efforts, you save about $7 worth. So, yes, ma'am.
This might be jumping ahead a little bit, but when you talk about these relationships and partnerships with the different levels of government, once you allow another level of government in, doesn't that change the control of the situation?
I have a big smile on my face right now because that's an awesome question.
Okay.
And we're going to get to that. The answer is no. You
Okay.
always retain control of your incident. So even if it, and we'll get to that, but even if you call in the county, the state, FEMA, you guys own the incident, you will always have the incident. If anyone, let's say you called me up from the county, and I come in and I assist and I help in some way, and you really don't like what I'm doing, you can say, hey, Peter, feel free to leave, you know. It's always your incident. You're just bringing in other assistants to help you manage your incident. Answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And that's a fantastic question and it's a very relevant question. And there's some documents that will specify that we'll get to. Okay. Any other questions so far? All right. There's components of NIMS, incident command system, emergency operations centers, multi-agency coordination groups, joint information systems falls under the command and coordination. But you also have resource management, communications, information management. It's all part of this national incident management system. Again, today, right now, we're just covering a 30,000-foot view. We're not going to get too deep into the weeds on this stuff, but just so you can understand kind of how this whole mechanism works. Okay. When we talk about command, this is the act of directing, ordering, or controlling by virtue of explicit statutory, regulatory, or delegated authority. That last one is kind of what we're talking about. What goes toward your question. We're gonna talk more about this, but this is let's ask this question, you guys. Who has the explicit authority for management of all incident operations?
Well, I'm confused.
Okay, ask a question.
And this is just me not knowing, so it's fine, right? Okay, it's okay to ask questions.
Yep.
I think I've just been made aware that in some instances there's kind of this like fight over who's in charge, and
Okay.
so I think that's why I'm kind of confused. Like, if the local entity is in charge of the incidents and that's clear as day, then why am I hearing about other entities fighting over who overrides the other one?
Without answering that, I guess I would need to know, like, who's fighting. Is it just inside your city? Is it city, county? Is it city, county, state? I guess I don't know.
And I guess I struggle to ask because I don't want to open up a can of worms,
Yeah.
but when we had that incident at UVU, was it UVU's police that was in charge, or was it the county, right? Like and just me hearing it seemed like there were multiple entities that were confused. But does that make sense why I'm just, like, if it is so clear, why does it sometimes seem like it's clear as mud?
I totally understand, and I'll just say this. Any incident is going to be chaotic. I don't think you'll find one that just isn't chaotic in some way. Communication's always an issue, but we train for something small, and that's the same framework gets applied to a larger incident. So specifically UVU one, you had their agency was taking care of all the preparations, but at some point they needed help. So there was actually calls made saying, come help us. So we got there. Now, I guess it would depend who was confused about, was it the public confused about what everyone else was doing, or was it the actual first responders that were confused about what their role was? Because from an outside perspective, it might look very chaotic, but very organized internally. And so that was a massive, worldwide implications of that incident. So there's a lot of microscopes on that incident. But generally speaking, there's a lot going on, and it might look like it's chaotic, but might be organized chaos.
Totally fair.
Okay, so I want to make sure I
No, you're good.
fully answer your question, and by going through this, some of that may become a little more clear as well. Any other questions so far? Okay. Back to the explicit authority for the management of all incident operations. What was your answer before?
It's the mayor.
There you go. So you have a mayor that has responsibility. Does that mean you have to go pick up a hose and put the cold stuff on the hot stuff?
Not necessarily.
It doesn't. But so you have people that do that.
Right.
Okay. Just like you have police officers. It doesn't mean you're going to go pick up the badge and the gun and go do the job yourself. You give that authority to people in your community, in your city. So the same thing applies to outside entities coming in as well. Now, you have people to do all that, and they do a great job. They're trained to do that at an operational level. But overall, you're exactly right. Ultimately, the buck stops with you. And it's important to understand that. So, which is why you regain control. You keep control of the incident at all times. Okay.
Sorry. Could you just stay at the mic so that
Oh.
people online can hear you?
Okay,
If you
I'm so
walk away,
sorry.
they can't hear.
I'm a wanderer by
I know.
nature.
I'm sorry.
I'll try my best.
I'll try my best. Okay. So we're talking about coordination now, and multi-agency coordination is what allows all the levels of government, all disciplines, all to work together more efficiently and effectively. This is where we have, the police officers working with firefighters, working with EMS, working with everybody from the health departments. It depends on what the incident is. But we're all trained similar, so we can all come together and work together, and we're more efficient when we do it. Okay, so you have, during incidents, you have multi-agency coordination groups. This is quite important. They act as a policy level body. So even though as the mayor, as city council members, you might not be out making tactical decisions, operational decisions on how something gets done, it's more important for you guys to act as this policy level body. And that allows you to drive the incidents via policy, answer tough questions, and make sure that information gets relayed to the people who are running the incident tactically and operationally. Okay, but so that's what a multi-agency command group. You're a policy level body, and which supports resource prioritization and allocation. If let's say that the cops don't have enough bullets, you make sure they get bullets. Make sure they have enough, whatever it is, whatever widgets they are that they need in that emergency. Those types of decisions. You make multi-agency decisions. You enable decision-making among elected and appointed officials with those managing the incident. So it'll dive deeper into this, but what the point we're trying to get across is it's this organized group that comes together, and there are people on the ground making tactical decisions, operational decisions, and there's people that are running policy and make sure that you cover your bases that way. It's just as important. It's just doing different things. Emergency operations centers, these are physical or virtual locations where staff, stakeholders, and partners gather to support the incident. Get a whole bunch of people doing different things that have different specialties, different responsibilities. You all get in a room and you make sure the incident gets handled. So I can give you some examples. Like I said, I've been through several sorry, I'm wandering. I've been through several, you might have to keep just tracking me down. I apologize. But there's several incidents where that I've been a part of, and honestly, elected officials want to do the right thing. They all do. They want to do, but sometimes during an incident, it's chaotic. You're not exactly sure where you can best help. Where do I belong? Where do you want me to go? What do you need me to do? And so an emergency operations center is a place where you get people that really understand their roles and responsibilities, and they make those decisions, and really support the incident. And it'll talk more about that. Joint information systems. So joint information systems, I can give you a really quick example. In 2018, we had the Bald Mountain Pole Creek fires that were burning down south. They were the two largest fires in the nation going at the same time. Both of them were in our county. And we had a whole bunch of cities, a whole bunch of mayors, a whole bunch of city council members, a whole bunch of PIOs from different agencies that all really want to give their people the right information as quickly as they can. If you remember that incident, we had displaced tens of thousands of people from their homes because the fires were burning. And if you think of something to that scale, that level of magnitude, in order to get all the people back to their homes, you want to do it calm. You don't want it to be chaotic. But sometimes it's big enough where you have so many resources that you need to put in place first. You don't want it all just to be chaotic and just because you're not going to fit 30, 40, 50, 60,000 people down Main Street all at the same time. And so you might need to strategically place resources, get resources ready and prepared for what announcements you're going to make to the public, and then you're prepared to handle them. And so joint information system, you coordinate that messaging. We had a whole bunch of PIOs. In the beginning of the incident, they would take the information and they would go disperse it to their community. Then you had one community doing something we weren't ready for. And so we really learned the hard way. We really need to get our PIOs together and really coordinate our messaging to our community. Because it's bigger. That incident was a lot bigger than one city. Multiple cities were involved and tens of thousands of people. So that's one way to explain and really help you understand why it's important to have coordinated interagency messaging, where you might need to develop public information plans and strategies, and tackle some of those hard issues that you don't always think about. No matter how much training you do, how many incidents you go to in real life, there's always something new in the next incident, and it's always different. Any questions about that? Okay. And if someone has questions back here, someone please let me know. Okay. So we talked a little bit about this incident command system, but it's a standardized approach to on-scene command, control, and coordination. And it puts a common structure where people work together from different organizations and all accomplish the goal. I think it's got some, this is important for you guys. We'll get to it's got some other visuals to help explain this, what we were just talking about. But this is an overview of senior officials' roles. And this is some of the responsibilities you really need to be concerned with. And I don't think you disagree with any of these, but ensure the safety of the citizens and protection of property, ensuring the continuity of your government, activating specific legal authorities, disaster declarations, evacuations, states of emergency, or other protective actions, delegation of authority. So you delegate your authority for the incident command to an incident commander that you bring in specifically to do that. Coordinate with PIOs to keep the media and public informed, requesting assistance from state agencies through the Emergency Operations Center, resolving any resource allocation conflicts, coordinating with other senior officials and your other community partners, and participation in multi-agency coordination groups. One of the challenging things to be an elected official is you might not have 20 years or more of doing this, so you're all ready to go when the big one hits. Okay, a big one could be whatever type of an incident it is. So we do these kinds of courses, but the cool thing is you have people that have been here for 20 years, 30 years that do that. And so you can rely on those people. And so sometimes, you guys know this, it's more important that you get to the information to the right people and you get the questions answered the way you need. But this is all important stuff that you need to worry about during an incident. So as elected officials or senior officials, we're not always making the tactical decisions. but supporting the continuity of your government and these other priorities that I've outlined here. Okay, so this is ICS organization and some of the features. And I need to start skipping some of these. So let's go through this here. Okay, ICS, Incident Command System. Mentioned it a little bit before. It's a standardized on-scene, all-hazards incident management concept and allows users to adopt an integrated organizational structure to match the complexities and demands of single or multiple incidents without being hindered by jurisdictional boundaries. Basically, it teaches us all how to work together to accomplish a unified goal. So these are some of the incidents using ICS. You have fires, structural, wildland, natural disasters, disease outbreaks. We all live through that. Search and rescue missions, hazardous materials incidents. Really, almost anything you can think of can be an incident. Even you might not think even visits from dignitaries can be a big deal, and other planned events. So some of the benefits, ICS, Incident Command System, it really can adapt to meet the needs of the incident of any size, kind, or complexity. Now, I use this example for a reason. You have these incidents that are very small, and if you think about it, a good example I used to kind of explain an incident, I'm a police officer by trade. I have been, like I said, for 25 years. If I get a call that says there's something going on, a suspicious person or doing whatever it is, and I get dispatched to that, I drive my patrol car, I get there on scene, I evaluate, I take care of the problem, I make decisions, finish the incident, and I check it, I'm clear. Basically, I do the same thing in that one incident by myself as a big incident that might take a lot of different people. It's just that the need for all that complexity wasn't there. When you have these bigger, complex incidents, you need additional people to step in to take some of those responsibilities. I managed to be the incident commander, the PIO, do logistics, everything, all just myself, because I just doesn't need more assistance. And so this ICS system allows any type of incident to be put in front of you and scale your response to that and be able to take care of it effectively and efficiently. But it also allows people from different agencies, like I mentioned before, to come in and help manage the incident as well. There's not a lot of communities, especially in Utah County. We have a couple larger agencies, larger cities, that have a lot of resources. We actually have a lot of cities that don't have as much resources as Lehi or Provo or something like that. And when we have a really big incident, we need help from our partners. We all do. And this really allows us to work together, and we're trained the same, and we ask for help when we need help. We give help when we can, when others need help. And it's an important concept. And so we bring in people and other entities, other resources from other areas to provide assistance when it gets turned into a big incident. Sometimes we'll actually bring in just incident management teams. They specialize, like a really good example of that are these large fires. You have a type 1 incident management team that has hundreds of people. They come in, their sole job is you've given them the authority to come in and manage a disaster for you. They know their job, their responsibilities, they do it well, and then when it's over and done, they go home and they do their thing, and you've retained the responsibility for the incident the whole time. But so that's the benefit of ICS, is to really scale as you need it. And it does cut down costs so you don't duplicate your efforts. Okay, so when we talk about the organization, this differs from day-to-day administrative organizational structures and positions. So if you have somebody like me, I'll just say, if I was a patrol sergeant on patrol, I might be asked to come in do a different function. I might be asked to do a PIO role or something. So what they need in ICS might be different from what your permanent responsibility is. Just, it's important to know. And your emergency managers that you have here help train people to do that, and might come up with different procedures that can help you guys understand what you might need in that role. So a good example is a chief might not necessarily be a chief in an ICS structure. Okay, so it's not. Yeah, we talked about that one. There's some management characteristics. I'm not going to dwell on these a lot, but some of the things are common terminology. There was a desire probably 15, 20 years ago. When I was first a police officer, we used 10 code. You know, we've all heard 10-4, good buddy. You know, 10-4, and we would 10 everything, and that's how we would communicate. And it became second nature for us. And it got to the point where we bring in other people, and they don't know what I'm saying, because we would communicate like that, and people are like, what? And it just becomes second nature. It's like speaking a whole nother language. So there was a drive started at the federal government saying, hey, you guys are really good at what you do and everything, but we don't know what you're saying when we come in and we help you. So can we make a push to get back to some common terminology? And so there's been a drive to do that. And so we do try to use a lot of common terminology. There is still some, as a police officer, I still use, 10-4. A lot of people know what 10-4 means. Okay. But we do try to use common terminology, but some of these things up there, some of the other characteristics of that, that I don't need to hit each one. But again, stop me if you have questions. But this organization is modular, so this is referring back to what I was talking about, how it can scale in complexity, and it'll give you a better example in a minute. But it depends on the incident. It's driven by the incident and the need for you to bring in other people, and you don't always have to expand your incident massive. If you just need a couple extra people, you can do so as you need. It allows you to manage your resources effectively, quite effectively. Okay, so we do use a chain of command, and we use a unity of command. So chain of command is an orderly line of authority within the ranks of the incident management organization. Unity of command means that every individual has a designated supervisor to whom he or she reports at the scene of an incident. So there's just some terminology differences that we just want to be aware of. This is kind of the who does what. It's a good overall example. Your incident commander has overall responsibility for the incident and sets the objectives. And then you have different sections that you break it out into, and it can be much larger than this. This is a very simplified version. But so you have your operations section where it develops tactical organization and directs all resources to carry out the plan itself. You have a planning section. They develop the incident action plan to accomplish the objectives. Logistics provides resources and services needed to support that incident. And you have a finance admin section, which monitors incident-related costs, provides overall fiscal guidance. So that's just a very basic example of how these individuals, these planning sections can act independent from each other, but yet help with the overall goals of the incident. Any questions on this one? Okay. So incident commander's role, again, we're not going to go through each one, but overall leadership for the incident response. This is important, but does receive policy direction from the senior official. So as a mayor, you come in and you want to make sure you communicate with that incident commander, make sure that incident commander is really has those goals and objectives in mind. So it's just important to communicate. But the incident commander does all these other things as well as delegating authority to everybody that they need to, and coordinates with the other entities as well. Okay, so your senior official's role in incident command. Delegate authority for on-scene operations to the incident commander. That last page in there is a sample delegation of authority. That is the manner in which you give somebody else the authority to manage your incident according to how you want it managed. That can be terminated at any time. But when you have somebody you bring in from the outside, you guys are saying, come in, manage this incident. We're giving you the authority to do so, but anytime we can take it back. Okay? Then you provide policy guidance on priorities and objectives, activate specific legal authorities, and oversee resource coordination and support to the incident command through the EOC. I did a tabletop with another community, and again, these were individuals that were unaware of what their responsibilities needed to be. And everyone thought when they got in this exercise, they were going to be the ones that were going to be telling everyone what to do, how to do it, how much to do it. And really, through this exercise, it really came to light that their responsibility, and it was really amazing to see when they just they got it. A switch kind of flipped in their minds, and they realized, I don't need to be the one telling the police officers where to go and how to do their job. I don't need to tell the firefighters how much water or how much to do, whatever it is. They provided guidance, and you let your trained officials that have been doing this for a long time manage their people to accomplish the goals. And a switch flipped, and they saw that, and they realized, I came into this thinking I had to make all the decisions of when to evacuate, when to do this, how much to do that, and they realized they were putting all this unnecessary stress upon their shoulders. It just didn't need to be there, because you have people that do all that. So you just need to provide the guidance to those people, and the stress level goes way down. So it was really kind of neat to see. Okay. Delegation of authority. This is one of the things I promised we'd come back to. It can be in writing. It can be verbally, but it does include the legal authorities and restrictions, financial authorities and restrictions, reporting requirements, demographic issues, political implications. It can contain all of this. And it's important to get that document. And I don't know if I've got one filled out here, but that example document in there can be a general guide for you. But this is the document in which you give that entity to come in and give the authority to manage your incident. Okay. So when we're talking about incident management roles, the incident commander, we have EOC director and staff, joint information systems, senior officials. Do you have a question?
Yeah, let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
When does that delegation come in? So we have an incident here in Lehi. How quick am I going to delegate that out?
It's a very good question. So you have.
I love to delegate.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you don't always need a delegation of authority, right? Because, again, the example of a police officer going to a call, getting dispatched to a call, taking care of it all, there's no need to delegate something in that circumstance. You have firefighters that are trained, and they're used to going out, putting out fires. You have your medical people that are used to all the things they do. At some point, you're going to want to communicate with your officials, your police chiefs, your fire chiefs, your other city officials, and you're going to evaluate the circumstance. And it won't always be clear at what point you need to do that. But there's a different presentation I give that says when a community reaches out to another community for help. And it can be as easy as, here's an example, real life example. We had a dump fire flood over in Saratoga, Eagle Mountain, and in that incident, that was 2012, in that incident, they needed a very specific resource. The community had mostly what they needed, but they didn't have everything. They needed armor-lined dump trucks. Well, nobody had them. The military had them. So there was a need to bring in an entity just for that specific reason. So we brought in military folks for that. It doesn't mean you can't do, it doesn't mean you have to do everything. You don't need to completely turn over your entire incident to somebody. It might be just pieces that you need assistance with. So when it comes to when you want to delegate your authority, if you're bringing in a team that you're asking to run the whole incident, it's a good idea to do that. Yes, ma'am.
So we recently had an incident at Point of the Mountain, and Chief Kraft was here. I'm just curious how that worked. When did Mayor Johnson at the time delegate authority to Chief Kraft that right away, or what? How did that
I can't
happen?
answer any of that. I can answer that.
Because maybe that's your question, right?
So my authority's already been delegated.
Yeah.
When I was sworn in, the council at the time delegated authority to me to run the incidents. When we delegate to outside entities, I never delegated that out. We kept that the whole time. When our resources are going to be overrun, we don't have enough resources in the city to run it, we'll ask for help. And we'll ask for help, we get the help. But then if we're going to be overwhelmed more where we can't handle our own incidents in the city as well as maintain that incident, then we'll delegate. So 2 years ago, Dry Creek fire, we delegated that to county because we couldn't control our own city and run that incident. So for me, it's all about resource management and making sure that our city is still protected while that big incident's going on.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think with our department heads and specialties, we've already given that authority to you, to emergency management and the police. So this is specifically for outside entities coming into the city that aren't. Right. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that helps. It becomes a lot more important when you tie in money to it. There's some check boxes you have to check when you want to tap into FEMA and some of those entities that really can provide some robust assistance.
May I say one more thing? So he's talking specifically about the FEMA side of the house, and money is really important. So Dry Creek, I'm going to go back to Dry Creek. We delegated that early because we wanted a helicopter and we didn't want to pay for it. And so when you delegate it, that entity, at least on the wildland side of the house, FEMA's a little bit different because you have to prove that you can declare an emergency. That's a whole different set of rules. Like on the wildland side of the house, I don't want to pay for a helicopter, so I'm going to delegate that to the state as soon as they step foot on a fire like that, right? I know that it's going to cost us a lot of money. We don't have a lot of money, so here's your fire. Have fun.
I have a question about that. Going back to the fire at Traverse, my understanding was there's EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, was kind of there at the public safety building. But there was also Sir, I was on site. Scott was coordinating some things, maybe, yes, no, I don't know.
Yeah, I was hoping he'd go into that a little bit more.
Just to try to have people with the places of the, you know what I mean, to examples.
Yeah, we could spend a lot of time digesting into that. We opened the Emergency Operations Center because we didn't know how long we were going to be there, what resources we needed. And that's where all of that ran, policy making stuff let's just say I want to bring in a bulldozer because it was unsafe. I don't necessarily have the authority to just hire a bulldozer. They, in the EOC, who's there, they have that authority and they have the checkbook to do that. So that's why they were there. CERT is a, what's the word?
Volunteer.
Well, they're volunteer, but they're a support service to us. So they show up and they help with meals and, if we have to go to the bathroom, and they help us change some bottles. They serve a very specific purpose, so we don't have to pull firefighters off the line. CERT can do some of those things. So 2 completely different entities, if you will. So we've opened our EOC 4 or 5 times in the last 5 years. It's just, if the incident's big enough, we need help, and yeah.
So the fire on Traverse. So incident command, would that be with you on the mountain, or would that be at the EOC?
That would be with me on the mountain.
Okay.
Yep.
So one of the reasons that this is a tougher question is every political subdivision has their own policies, their own response plans. And so what one city does, another city has the ability to plan something differently. The county, we might do something different. So it's really important that you tie into your officials that you have that do these things. Your emergency managers, they're aware of your plans. They help develop some of those plans with your other senior officials, your police chiefs, your fire chiefs. And so it's different. So I'm giving you a very 30,000-foot view. It's important for you guys to ask questions, do exercises, some of these things, to know more specifically what you guys do here and how it might be different from somewhere else.
Can I just say something to maybe take pressure off the council and the mayor? And Scott can verify this, the Scots can verify this later, but we were told before that our role as elected officials was, you know, if there's an emergency, head over, I guess, to the broadband room, right? Be there in case we have to approve funding or something like that. So we're not out there. We might want to be out there with a fire hose or something helping, but that's what we got to do. But that might be brought
The
up later.
spirit is right. You
Oh.
guys can even stay home and we'll just
Oh,
call you.
can we? Okay,
Yeah.
that's even better.
Just
No
stay by your
pressure.
phone.
Okay. stay by
I'll
my
give
phone.
you a real world example of that, and that is there was another community that was having a natural disaster, and all of the elected officials, the city council members wanted to come out on scene. And when they come out on scene, and again, this is nothing about you guys, this is just past history of doing that. They came out on scene because they have an honest desire to do good, to help with the incident and help resolve the problem. They came out on scene, and then they went to look at things, and there was no more body to take care of some of the policy issues that we needed action taken on immediately. So you might want to, like the spirit is out there, help and do, but sometimes there's a better place in a room to help drive policy and help really give the stewardship to your other entities, your other officials that are trained to do that. And so it's definitely difficult to do sometimes, but that was just an incident where I came into the county and they asked me to be there to help them through this incident. And I was by myself in there, and all of the officials in the city were out in the incident. I can't track anyone down. And so things were kind of delayed. Did you have yeah.
So, Mayor, to answer your question, basically, and I think it's been done in kind of a generalized way, but when you asked, at what point do I delegate that authority? The perfect example with the fire chief, he'll let you know. Because they have the experience of when it's, okay, this is a little much for us. So, like me, I'm new to this world, and I'm kind of intimidated by this whole program and the responsibilities that are associated with it. But if you really stop to think about it, you're not alone in this. You've got your police, you have your fire, you've got the city council, you got all of the department heads that will work together and help counsel each other with that. So.
I got your back, Mayor. Well, awesome. If I could chime in, when they're on scene, they're busy, they've got a million calls and communications they're dealing with. Call me or call Cameron. We're in the chain of this operation, both of us are designated as the liaison, so one of the two of us will be your point of contact. So we'll get you information just as quick as we get it.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about this slide while I have it up? Again, if you have specific questions, feel free to ask, and we'll get you the answer you need. Okay. This is just basically showing that as the complexity of the incident goes up, the ICS structure expands. It can go from a very small structure to a very large. I have an example here where we ran. You can't really see, maybe not everyone can see, but there's over 100 people in this ICS structure. This is something called an area command, where we have multiple ICS structures. We have different multiple incident commanders in different areas, and this was countywide. And so very small complexity to a massive mechanism that has a lot of different pieces, making sure it runs efficiently. Okay. this is important when it comes to policy. When you're talking unified command, this is just saying we're not going to forget about anybody. We're going to do our best to make sure we take into consideration everyone's legal authorities and make sure we check all the boxes, cross all the T's, dot all the I's. And we do that by bringing in other entities, other people with different skill sets. Police officers, firefighters, attorneys, public works officials, health department people. And we make sure we really try to check all the boxes as best we can. We get all those people together in a unified front and have a unified command. But that does differ depending on what type of incident it is. Okay? Okay, so unified command helps establish the objectives, the incident action plan, the command structure. You don't need to be worried as city officials how to ramp that up, what people to put where, all your other entities you have out on the that are actually out in the field. Your incident commander, they will help dictate that, so you don't need to worry about that. They'll bring in the people they need to manage the incident as they need. When it grows in complexity, they'll add pieces and parts here and there, so you don't need to worry about that. But it's really important for you to know how it grows and maybe why it grows. Okay? Any questions? When we're talking about emergency operations centers, under the National Incident Management System, we talked a little bit about this, what purpose emergency operations centers serve. And again, they're all different depending on the incident, depending on the complexity of the incident. They can function with different structures. It's going to depend on your city's policy, and really get with your emergency managers to find out what type of a structure you have when they set up an emergency operations center. And it's really important that you don't see it for the first time in an incident. So if you do an exercise, a tabletop, whatever it is, so you understand what that looks like for your community, working from your plans.